Hello and welcome to the third video in the series on color mixing for a still life that I'm working on that has some tangerines with the greens on and an old crock, pickling crock. So last two videos, the first video we mixed all the oranges for the tangerines from shadow to highlight. And then the second video, these are the leaf colors we mixed from shadow to highlight. Again, I'll tell you the colors that I use as my base colors. These are colors that run here are straight out the tube: a light green, a sap green, viridian, turquoise, cerulean, cobalt, ultramarine, a diazonine purple, magenta, alizarin, cad red, cad orange, cad yellow, yellow ochre, and lemon yellow. Over here I have some white and some unbleached titanium. So I wanted to show you my reference, and this is my reference that I'm going to be working from. I hope you can see that without too much glare. As you can see, we've got a lot of shadow happening from this old vintage crock. You've got these four tangerines, and you can see how very dark the shadows go when we go into this dark tangerine. Almost blends with the background shadow. It happens again over here behind the leaf. And you can see that our leaves really go very black in spots. And so that's why we mix these colors. And then you see this reflective color on the leaf here. And that will be our lightest color when we go to paint that. So right now we're going to be working on this crock and have to decide how we're going to portray this shadowy side, because that goes very dark and it goes very light on the opposite side, on the light side. So let's start working on these colors next. So for this, we will have to use a little bit of white for the highlight side, but what will be my shadow color? And that's what we have to decide. I don't want it to be a dull brown. It won't be a black. You see I have no black on my palette. I usually don't use any black or gray. I mix what I need. If I just had that crock go from white to black, well, that's not very interesting, and it's dull, and no one will really want to look at that. And that's not how I want to portray it. So my decision is going to be to move from a creamy beige in the highlight, a warm yellowy creamy beige, to what's going to be a more purpley taupey color in the shadow. But the shadow on that vase, let me show you again. If we look at it in a value perspective, look at how dark this line is. It's as dark as this. It's as dark as that. It's all very dark right in here. Aside from that reflection, it's very dark. So the values have to be equal. The value of that shadow, the value of that orange, and the value here. So the values have to be changed, or have to be the same. So I have to keep that in mind when I'm mixing the paints, that's going to have to be a very dark color to make it believable in our final painting. So let's get going on that then. This is exciting to start. So I'm going to grab a whole lot of this unbleached titanium, which is a superb color all on its own, but it mixes, as I've told you before, really, really well. So I'm going to grab some of this purple, not a lot of the purple to start with, just so I can get a feel for how dark is this going to be. Will it be dark enough? as it sits right there. Well, as I told you, the darkest orange, part of the orange, as we looked at, has to be equal in value to the darkest part of that crock. So if I take some of this and I go over here and I say, are those two colors equal in value? And if I squint, I say, no, that purple is lighter. Purple is also lighter than that green leaf. So that's going to have to get darker. How am I going to darken that up? Experience tells me that a little bit of blue in there will darken that up. I'm also going to need a little more of that purple, right? Now remember, we mentioned in another video that this color that we're looking at is a pretty vibrant purple, you know. Even though it's a dark purple, it's pretty vibrant. How would I make that not so vibrant? Because our shadows aren't vibrant. Shadows are quiet. They're not vibrating or vibrant. They're dark, they're quiet. They don't vibrate. So I'm grabbing more of the purple, putting it in. Really want to bring that down dark, because I want this value to be as dark as that value, and it's starting to happen. But it's very, very electric color purple. So if you want to take down something, you can always go to its complement, right? Purple would be one of the yellows, would bring it down, desaturate, bring it down. So I'm going to go and just take the tiniest bit, right, of this ochre. Now watch that color. You see what color that is. Now, I know this sounds crazy, but I'm going to add this in and look at it change. I hope you're picking up that. It's lost some of its vibrancy, hasn't it? So let's just do that again. Let's add a little more purple. Remember, this is our darkest dark, and I don't know if it's looking dark enough for me. So I'm really going to come in with this purple. So far in this pile, we have the unbleached titanium, purple, tiny bit of ultramarine blue, and a little bit of that yellow ochre, just to calm this pile down. Not enough to lighten it, but calm it down. Now that color, that's working for me. That, I believe, is going to be dark enough. If it's not dark enough, I can go back in. As I'm mixing, sometimes I'll look at that pile and I'll say, you know, that wasn't dark enough. So I might go back. Like I know before I start painting, this color is going to have to be much lighter than that color. And right now I'm thinking they look the same. So these two colors will have to be lightened. But that's when just before I start to paint. So I'm going to leave that pile for right now and take just a little bit of that. And I'm going to make the next color. So I'm going to take more of this unbleached titanium. Mix that in. Because remember, we're coming out of the shadows. But there's a lot of layers of shadows happening. We're going to need a little more of that unbleached titanium. Let me squirt some of that out onto my palette. I always like to, when I put things on, colors on my palette, I like to put them in a long line so that I don't contaminate the whole pile. If I happen to forget and I go into that with a little bit of paint on this, I'm just contaminating one end of it, not the whole pile. So I like to put them out in a long line. So I'm going to take a little bit more of that because I need more over here. I don't want to be caught short while I'm painting if I can avoid it. That's quite a step up. Keep mixing. So we're stepping out of the shadow. It's clear that we're stepping out of the shadow. We might just bring that down just a tiny bit. Not as dark as the previous pile, but just a little darker. Like that. That's very nice what's happening there. And a tiny bit more of that yellow ochre. Don't want it to be vibrant, want it to just go quiet. And that's what the yellow ochre will do for it. It'll make it go a little quiet. Not too much overdone. And then you'll start to get this muddy odd color. I like that. I might even a little more yellow. I really want that to settle down, right? That settled it down. Now look at that. What a dull color that is. But yet, what difference we have right there. Next pile. Next pile. I always like to take a little bit, steal it over here, see where I'm at. Now we're coming up. I'd say we're almost coming out of the shadow, aren't we? Might be a little bit of a rim for the shadowing. Right? Look at that beauty. You see what's happening there? I might just take some excess there and just plop it in. Clean up what I have just to bring it down. Look at that. That's lovely what's happening there. Now, paper towel, keep my palette knife clean. I'm going to take the rest of that titanium, and I want a little bit of that yellow, that purple in there, but not a lot. So again, I need more titanium because I haven't put enough out, but that's okay. Don't want to put too much out. This is a Williamsburg paint. And those paints are not cheap, but they are lovely to work with. So this is where we are stepping out, right? There's the tiniest bit of purple in there, but we're stepping into the sunshine now, right? So let's step together into where the sunshine is going to be hitting. We're going to go over and we're going to pick up, what shall we pick up? I'm going to pick up just a little bit more of the ochre and a little bit of the cad yellow. Not too much of that cad yellow, that goes a long way. Let's just see where that takes us. It's an old crock. You can see, just as I'm mixing this, that this color is darker in value than that color. That's not going to happen. You can't have that. So I'm going to divide this into two. This color has to be lighter. A little more of the titanium in there. But this is where our white's going to have to start happening because it is a white crock, right? So let's start to bring this up. It's going to get whiter, but the more important thing is that it is going to get warmer, right? It's not just whiter, it's warmer, okay? So as I put white in there, I always am going to follow up with a little bit of yellow. Now, you'll notice how this pile has changed. Now, the value of this pile is lighter than that, which is exactly what we want. Our values are going up, 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 up. You can see the difference between those two piles now. It's moved up in value, which is exactly where we're heading. Look at that warm, beautiful color. So we're going to use the paint that we started with over here that we separated out. Add more white, a little more yellow. Let's see where that gets us, because now we are in the sunshine. Somehow it doesn't look light enough. I'm thinking more white. I'm going to divide it off again. I'm going to add more white. It's just my way of not wasting too much paint. Divide that off and add it to a smaller pile. That'll make it lighter faster. And you can see what happened right there as we did that. Look at how much lighter that is. Isn't that a lovely transition? I think that's